Judas Iscariot, the betrayal of the Son of God. Prologue. The shadow among the 12. Imagine a dusty road in first-century Judea. 12 men follow a teacher who preaches peace, heals the sick, and claims to reveal the kingdom of heaven. Among them walks one man who will become the most infamous name in history: Judas Iscariot. For 2,000 years, his name has echoed as a symbol of betrayal. But who was he really? Why did he turn against his master? And was his fall inevitable, or a tragedy born of free will? Chapter 1. The Man from Kerioth. Judas was likely born in Kerioth, a small Judean town. This made him the only non-Galilean disciple, an outsider even among outsiders. When Jesus began his ministry, he called fishermen, tax collectors, and zealots, men of passion, rather than prestige. Judas was chosen among them, trusted enough to serve as treasurer for the group, holding the shared money bag. At first, he may have seemed no different from the others. He witnessed the miracles, the blind seeing, the lepers cleansed, the dead raised. He watched crowds swell, hanging on every word of Jesus of Nazareth. But something grew within Judas, a seed of doubt, perhaps disappointment. The Messiah he expected was not the conquering king who would overthrow Rome, but a teacher speaking of humility, suffering, and loving one's enemies. In Judas's eyes, that vision may have begun to fracture. Chapter 2. Ambition and Disillusionment. Many scholars believe Judas's betrayal stemmed not from greed alone, but from disillusionment. He may have joined Jesus expecting a revolutionary, someone who would restore Israel's power. But as time passed, Jesus spoke more about dying than ruling. He refused political crowns, warned of persecution, and even predicted his own betrayal. The Gospel of John offers glimpses of Judas's heart. When Mary of Bethany poured expensive perfume on Jesus' feet, Judas protested. Why wasn't this perfume sold and the money given to the poor? John adds pointedly, he did not say this because he cared about the poor, but because he was a thief. He used to help himself to what was put into the money bag. John 12:6. Whether John's comment reflects hindsight or divine insight, it paints Judas as a man already drifting, valuing earthly gain over spiritual truth. Still, Jesus did not expose him. He continued to love and include him. Chapter 3. The Turning Point. The moment of decision likely came during the final days before Passover in Jerusalem. The city was alive with tension, Roman soldiers patrolling, zealots whispering rebellion, religious leaders plotting against Jesus, whose teachings threatened their authority. The Gospels record a chilling meeting. Then entered Satan into Judas, called Iscariot, and he went and conferred with the chief priests and captains how he might betray him. Luke 22:3-4. For 30 pieces of silver, the price of a common slave, Judas agreed to deliver his teacher quietly, away from the crowds. The religious authorities were delighted. They had long sought a way to seize Jesus without provoking a riot. Judas offered the key, intimate access, but his motives remained debated. Was it pure greed? Was it disappointment, forcing Jesus' hand to reveal his power? Or was it spiritual blindness, a gradual hardening of heart until darkness felt inevitable? Chapter 4. The Last Supper. The night before the crucifixion, Jesus gathered the 12 for one final meal. The atmosphere was sacred: Passover lamb, unleavened bread, wine, and candlelight flickering on anxious faces. Then, in the middle of it, Jesus dropped a sentence that froze the room. "Truly, I tell you, one of you will betray me." Each disciple looked around, stunned, and asked, "Lord, is it I?" Even Judas. Jesus answered quietly, "It is the one to whom I will give this piece of bread when I have dipped it in the dish." He dipped the bread, handed it to Judas, and said, "What you are about to do quickly." At that moment, John writes, Satan entered into him. Judas left the room, and night fell. That line, "and it was night," carries more than time. It's a metaphor. Darkness had entered the world. The wheels of destiny were turning. Chapter 5. The Garden of Gethsemane. Later that night, Jesus and his disciples went to the Mount of Olives, to a quiet grove called Gethsemane. There, Jesus prayed in agony, sweating drops of blood, while his disciples slept. Suddenly, torches appeared in the distance. A band of soldiers and temple guards, led by Judas. He approached Jesus with chilling calm and greeted him with a kiss. "Greetings, Rabbi." "Friend," Jesus replied, "do what you came for." That single gesture, a kiss, the universal sign of affection, became forever synonymous with betrayal. With it, Judas handed over the Son of God to his enemies. Chapter 6. The Trial and the Realization. When Judas saw what followed, Jesus bound, mocked, condemned. Something shattered inside him. He returned to the priests, the silver coins clutched in his hands. "I have sinned," he cried, "for I have betrayed innocent blood." But they sneered, "What is that to us? See to it yourself." The coins clattered across the temple floor, 30 pieces of silver ringing like echoes of guilt. Consumed by despair, Judas fled and took his own life. Matthew records, "He went away and hanged himself." Matthew 27:5. The priests, unwilling to keep blood money, used it to buy a potter's field for burying foreigners, a grim fulfillment of prophecy from Zechariah. They took the 30 pieces of silver, the price set on him, and used them to buy the potter's field. Judas's body, according to Acts, fell and burst open, his death as violent as his conscience. Destiny or choice. For centuries, theologians have wrestled with the question, was Judas predestined to betray Jesus, or did he act by free will? Jesus himself said, "The Son of Man will go as it has been decreed, but woe to that man who betrays him." Luke 22:22. This suggests both destiny and responsibility. The divine plan required betrayal, but Judas's moral choice still carried weight. Some see Judas as a tragic instrument of prophecy, the necessary villain in the story of salvation. Others view him as a warning of spiritual corruption, proof that proximity to holiness does not guarantee transformation. He walked with Jesus, heard his voice, saw his miracles, yet his heart remained divided. Symbolism and legacy. Judas's betrayal has become one of history's darkest metaphors. To betray with a kiss means to wound under the guise of love. His name itself became synonymous with treachery, a word whispered with disgust in nearly every language. In art, literature, and theology, Judas stands as the fallen disciple, the man who exchanged eternity for silver, the face of regret that came too late. But his story also raises uncomfortable truths about human nature. How many times have we sold out what we believe in for something fleeting, approval, comfort, or wealth? How often have we betrayed what we love most, not with malice, but with weakness? Judas reminds us that betrayal begins quietly, with disappointment, small compromises, unchecked resentment. By the time it is visible, it's already complete. Judas in the early church. Early Christians debated Judas's place in redemption history. The Apostle Peter contrasted him with himself. Both denied their Lord, yet Peter repented, while Judas despaired. The difference was not the gravity of sin, but the direction of the heart after failure. Some Gnostic writings, centuries later, tried to reinterpret Judas as a misunderstood hero, the only disciple who truly understood Jesus' mission. But the canonical Gospels reject this. To them, Judas was no enlightened ally. He was the tragic proof of what happens when love turns cold. Even so, Christianity's central message, grace, suggests that no one is beyond forgiveness. We cannot know what passed between Judas and God in his final moments, but we can know this: the same Christ he betrayed died for him, too. From a psychological perspective, Judas represents the tension between expectation and disappointment. He may have genuinely believed Jesus would lead a national revolution, and when that dream died, he lashed out in frustration. In betraying Jesus, he may have hoped to force his hand, to compel a miracle, a divine uprising. But when Jesus submitted to arrest without resistance, Judas realized the horror of what he had done. He didn't hate Jesus, he hated himself. His tragedy is not only betrayal, but unforgiven guilt. Where Peter's tears led him back to grace, Judas's led him to despair. It is one of the Bible's sharpest contrasts. Two men broken by failure, yet only one finds redemption. Artists from Giotto to Caravaggio have painted his kiss in chilling intimacy, the touch of friendship masking betrayal. Writers from Dante to Borges have reimagined him as both villain and victim. Each interpretation wrestles with the same haunting question. Can a man betray God and still be loved by Him? The Gospel's quiet answer is yes. God's love does not depend on ours. But Judas never accepted it. He could not forgive himself, even though forgiveness stood before him. The lessons of the betrayal. Judas's story teaches several timeless lessons. Proximity to holiness is not the same as transformation. Judas lived beside Jesus, but never let the message change his heart. Small compromises open the door to great evil. His thefts from the money bag may have seemed minor until they shaped a soul that could sell the Son of God. Despair is the enemy of redemption. Peter's repentance and Judas's suicide reveal two opposite responses to guilt. One led to restoration, the other to ruin. God's plan can use even human failure for divine purpose. The betrayal led to the cross, and through the cross came salvation, turning history's darkest act into its brightest redemption. Today, the potter's field purchased with those 30 coins still lies outside Jerusalem, a barren patch called Akeldama, the field of blood. It stands as a silent monument to human tragedy and divine mercy intertwined. When we speak the name Judas Iscariot, we speak a warning, but also a mirror. Every person has within them both the faith of Peter and the weakness of Judas. The difference lies in which we choose when confronted with our own failure. "Friend, why have you come?" Jesus asked Judas in Gethsemane. Even in the act of betrayal, he called him friend. That single word reveals the heart of God. Love, extended even to the one who turned away. The tragedy of Judas Iscariot is not merely that he betrayed Christ. It is that he could not believe forgiveness was still possible. And that, perhaps, is the greatest tragedy of all.